Hello there, and welcome to the Ask Time Film Podcast, where we talk film, TV, games, and all that jazz like there's no tomorrow. This week, finally, we are beginning our Spider-Man retrospective and talking about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. My name is Tom, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host John.
Hey, it's
This
pizza
is it.
time!
It's
Yay!
pizza time. This is, as anyone who's been listening to the pod for a while knows, that I've been so excited for this. We're going to be doing every single Spider-Man film. This week we're doing the Sam Raimi trilogy. Next week we're doing the Amazing Spider-Man films. The week after that we're doing the MCU films, and then finally it's culminating all with No Way Home. So excited. Let's get straight into it. The Raimi trilogy. I mean, go on, yeah.
So this is like my first ever superhero film to watch. I watched it on the VHS tape, the first Spider-Man film.
Wow. Yeah, wow. Insane. Yeah, this is probably my second. I think I might have watched Superman the movie before this, but yeah, no, this is definitely an early one for me as well.
Yeah, I can just remember watching it. I was like, "Whoa, this is so cool!" And the earliest memory that I could think of was the halfway through the film. That's it, like the second half of the film, where Spider-Man is fighting Green Goblin for the first time, and he saves MJ. So
yes, yeah. Honestly, I mean, this trilogy is cinema at its finest. I think this is like the peak of superhero cinema. There's definitely some amazing stuff out there, but I think this still stands as one of the best, and I think Raimi has done an excellent job. Let's start talking about Spider-Man. The first film, I mean, this film really is like the blueprint of modern, comic book films. I would say that more than X-Men and more than Blade, I mean, this film really kind of pioneers everything that we know about the comic book genre.
Yeah, and how it really set up, what Spider-Man is like in its own way, isn't its pure comic book feel to it. It's just so well developed throughout the trilogy that you see from the first Spider-Man, and it's so good. It's just it's up there with the Dark Knight trilogy. It's up there.
Yeah, it set such a high bar already.
Yeah,
there's no wonder that this film was extremely high grossing at the time. I don't have these stats on me, but this film was really, really popular. It was the perfect kind of straight after 9/11. Pretty much I think within a year it was perfect. It brought people to it brought this sense of patriotism, and it has that classic story. I think this film is just so even the start of the film. I've said it before. I said it when we did No Time to Die. Every single film is made better by a title sequence, but oh my god, Danny Elfman's score, the Spider-Man score. You start off with the slow, building of Peter's theme, and then going to it building like a spider crawling up a web, and then it has this amazing crescendo as the words Spider-Man come onto the screen, and then it goes into this just. I get it. I get why people say it's too long. But it really is cinema. I get so excited just hearing that, I tell you what, this episode is going to seem to people like the ramblings of fanboys, but I don't care. This is it gives me such an unbridled joy, unparalleled, just hearing this score straight away,
No one, like what we said in No Time to Die, no one really ever do opening title sequence anymore. Just
bring it back, man. Bring it back.
Yeah, bring it back. Spider-Man 2, that was the best title sequence, I think, in my opinion. That was so good. But the first film, I really, loved how the characters were developed. Especially, that you see with MJ and Spider-Man. I think that was a proper relationship between them. You can see that, throughout the trilogy and how the characters felt each other, and it just felt so real, and it felt so that Sam Raimi really wanted to put heart and soul into this whole trilogy, and oh my god, he just did it so well for the first. And the soundtrack was just yes again, oh my god, that is just
iconic, isn't it? It's iconic. Amazing. You know, it's so bombastic and epic for Spider-Man, and yet it also has some really like good like emotional moments, you know, with Peter's theme. And it's honestly like this film, there's just so much to, I mean, in the very first 4 minutes, we found out, not including the titles, we found out all we need to know about the four main characters, their relationships to each other, and what kind of people they are. You know, this film is so perfectly paced, and it doesn't waste a single moment of screen time. You know exactly who Spider-Man is, you know who Peter is, MJ, Harry, you know, even Norman, Ben, May, you know, even J. Jonah Jameson, even like the background characters, they feel like alive. You know, New York feels like a living, breathing city, you know, and not to just directly quote High Top Films' incredible video essay on this, but it feels more like, you know, a place than just like a CGI, you know, like arena for our heroes to fight in. And I mean, like, okay, maybe the film is a bit too fast at times, but I think it's a masterclass in how to structure a superhero origin story. You know, I think this it builds every single element so well.
Yeah, and like this is like no other, you know, comic book movie ever. Like, you know, with Uncle Ben and that whole, you know, with great power comes with great responsibility. Like,
I mean,
like
every single Spider-Man film. Yeah, go on.
I think that's like the emotional core about, you know, Spider-Man. You know, he's losing his loved ones throughout the trilogy, and you know, it's very powerful. You know, I forgot the actor who played Uncle Ben, but
Cliff something.
Yeah, and you know, you can hear that again in Spider-Verse, you know, at the beginning when he
they use the same audio of him saying it, because it's, you know, and it's so iconic.
And oh man,
Cliff Robertson.
You know, what a great lesson that is. You know, with great power comes with great responsibility. With responsibility that, you know, can be applied to everything really. You know, with film, and you know, the power of being, you know, with kindness and with everything that he has. That's like the core idea of what Spider-Man is. You know.
Yeah, and I think that even though, like, okay, so like, I think it's so whack that other Spider-Man films, you know, don't say it, like in Amazing Spider-Man when Uncle Ben has like his teeth, like just say it. We'll get to that next week. But like,
oh my god, I hated that. I like absolutely hated that.
You know, the core of every, you're completely right. The core of everything that Spider-Man is in those words. You know, I think Uncle Ben and Aunt May are perfect in this film. Their relationships with Peter, you know, they create a lot of the beating heart of the film. Whether Peter's death, Ben's death frames Peter's morality.
Oh my god, he's dead.
No, Spider-Verse. You know, Ben's death frames Peter's morality and responsibility, and that leads him to becoming to Spider-Man. You know, like he makes a mistake, and you know, like he makes a selfish choice that leads him to losing the man who, you know, he cares most about, like his father. And I think the arc that he goes through in this film, from making that mistake, you know, from doing something selfish that costs him everything, to becoming Spider-Man, protecting the city, and having that brilliant moment in the end where Goblin says, "Peter, I've been like a father to you." And Peter says, "I had a father. His name was Ben Parker." And it's just like superhero arcs at the top of their game. So simple, so effective, absolutely incredible. And I should also say, spoiler alert, I totally forgot about that.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers for the whole trilogy. If you haven't seen it, I mean, obviously
came out like years ago. So
19 years ago, John. 19 years ago is when Spider-Man came out. That's insane.
That's 1 year older than me. Damn it! It's older. This film's older than me.
Yeah, we've had this film all of our life. That's a good feeling. We're old men. I think Toby is an amazing Spider-Man. You know, like he's considerate and caring. You know, he sells the sadness and anger and happiness. You know, he perfectly represents a man with a good heart. You know.
Yeah, and just like resembles that whole personality of Peter Parker. You know, in the comics, like that bouncy character of it. You know, throughout this trilogy, you know, being goofy but also like serious at the same time, and pizza time. So
well, I mean, like, I think goofiness is quite a staple of this trilogy. You know, like a lot of people say that, you know, Toby isn't the best as Spider-Man, you know, quipping and everything, and I agree. I don't think he's like the most kind of like, you know, funny Spider-Man, but this is a corny film. You know, it's a corny Peter. His jokes in the
Yeah.
spider suit are really like dorky, just like him. You know, we'll get more to that in Spider-Man 3, but like it's stupid, it's cheesy, and who cares? It's got so much heart, you know, like I wouldn't trade that cheesiness, that corniness for anything, because with it you get this beating heart, you know, this sincerity, which, you know, it's not easy to do, you know.
Yeah, and you can see that, you know, at the beginning, you know, with the trip to the to the lab, and you can see like he's taking pictures, and then he's like, oh yeah, do you want to take a picture or anything?
So hey,
like,
can take a picture. Yeah, it's so cute. I think I mean I love MJ in this film as well, you know, like
MJ,
this iteration of MJ, you know, her friendship with Peter, I think is really, really well built. You know, they're not like really good friends, but they, you know, they build, you know, they have that conversation in the back, and you know, in the backyard, and you know, they just kind of become friends, and he cares for her. You know, he doesn't like, you know, press his advantage or anything. He just kind of speaks to her like a human. You know, they keep them apart this whole film, and I think that's really smart. And the fact that she feels undervalued by everyone, but finds in Peter the confidence just to be her. You know, he loves her for who she is. You know, like he's not like, you know, she's downtrodden by her father. She's used by people like Flash and Harry. You know, it's not like, but with him, you know, she says it herself at the end. You know, he makes her feel like, you know, she's more than she could be, that she's happy just being herself. And I think that is so good, you know. Like, yes, there are stakes because they can't be together, and you know, it's painful to watch, and you know, it's an on and off relationship, but at the end of the day, you know, it comes back to the responsibility that Peter has, and you know, he has to kind of like put aside what he wants. And man, like so good.
It's so well written with MJ and Peter's relationship throughout, and it's just like so pure, and you know, with the love, and you know how serious it is within this superhero world, Spider-Man world, and you know how it works.
You know, yeah, go on.
Yeah, and you know, it's just it just works throughout this whole trilogy. But the film is, this one is just like a starring example of, you know, how, you know, other characters need to be well developed alongside with Spider-Man, and that relationship between MJ and you know Peter, it just works so well to, you know, understand both of these characters, and hopefully we might see that, you know, that whole relationship between, you know, with the other Spider-Man in No Way Home. But
I mean, Spider-Man 4, please. Somebody make Spider-Man 4. But yeah, it's interesting you talk about, like, you know, this world of heroes. Originally, they were going to have a Wolverine cameo in this film. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine was going to be in it, but they couldn't get the suit, so therefore they didn't have him, which I think is a bit stupid. Like, you don't need his suit to know that it's Wolverine. But I think it's mad that we were so close to having, you know, an X-Men Spider-Man kind of like universe, but I'm happy they didn't. I think this film works really well with what it's going for. I think it might have clashed a little bit with X-Men. You know, I'm really happy that now in 2021 we're going to get to see all the Spider-Man meet up and see these different things. But I think for this, you know, to have this trilogy that is, you know, isn't concerned with sequel setup, isn't concerned with like the wider universe. It's just telling a story. Primarily, it's a story about Peter Parker, Mary Jane Watson, and Harry Osborn. You know, it's a story about these three characters, about their friendships, about, you know, all the things they go through, and about Peter trying to make the world a better place, you know, and being a responsible person, you know, kind of going from a boy to an adult. And the lessons he learns, I think, are present throughout all of these. You know, I think Harry, great character, you know, someone who isn't respected by his father, he doesn't have an authentic relationship with MJ. And, you know, there is tension with that, you know, like him and Peter, they're friends, but they are different people, you know, and there's tension with the fact that they kind of, you know, they both like MJ, and you know, Pete and Norman likes Peter more than likes Harry, and then you get the tension at the end with Peter killing, you know, as far as Harry knows, Spider-Man's killed his dad, and you know, it right there you've got enough like character development and, you know, enough tension in this relationship to fill the whole trilogy, really.
Yeah. And you know, with the you can see with the different character dynamics between, you know, Harry and Peter throughout in the first one, you know, how they have different goals, and and it just works really well throughout the trilogy. You know, with at the start with Harry wanting to be like his father, and at the end, sacrificing himself in Spider-Man 3. Yeah. Oof.
Oof.
But
Cinema.
and with, you know, how it works, because it's really important, you know, in the first one, because it just really setting up the characters, and that is just the perfect example to have to set up characters in this one. And I just don't know what to say else alongside with that, because it's what to say, I don't know, but it's with the villains in this one, I think it's just well balanced, with, you know, Green Goblin, and it because Green Goblin's like the most iconic Spider-Man villain, if you just think about it, and you know how Willem Dafoe does it well. Like, you can't do that. I forgot the quote already. It was like him in a meeting, and he's like, "Oh, you can't do that."
Yeah, you can't do this to me. I started this company. Do you know how much I've sacrificed? Yeah, he's so
you
good.
know, I'm a scientist myself.
Yeah, you know, I'm something of a scientist myself. He literally, Willem Dafoe is the Green Goblin. He's awesome. He's mad. He's threatening. He's got that dual personality down. I love him. He's the perfect kind of like antithesis of Peter. And you know, like the Goblin suit as well. I think the Goblin suit is really cool. I don't know if you've seen the animatronic suit they were going to use, like the face. They were going to have him like transform into an actual goblin.
No way.
And and it looks really cool if you look at the test footage, and it is more naturalistic, and you know, and that one, you know, it was obviously pre-production, it was amazing. But I think that the suit with the motorbike helmet and like, you know, like the Power Ranger kind of stuff, it's exactly what it needed to be in 2002. I think it's really cool. And you know, I really love his death as well. You know, he dies and his final words are, "Don't tell Harry," and that is what Peter carries with him the whole time. A lot of people say, why doesn't Peter just tell Harry that he, you know, what happened? Because that was Goblin's last bloody words. Don't tell Harry. You know, it would crush him, you know, if he found out what his dad had become, you know. And yes, it drives Harry down a really dark path himself. But, you know, I think the way that, you know, Goblin, I mean, you've got that amazing like speech, you know, Spider-Man, this is why only fools are heroes, you know, like you never know when some madman will come around with a sadistic choice. And he's literally got a bus full of children, and Mary Jane on the other hand is like make your choice, Spider-Man, and see how a hero is rewarded. Like, it's really like stupid, but it's also so good, and like the sincerity about it is so good. Like the fight scenes between Peter and Goblin, he just gets beat the fuck up during that final battle. And
oh my god,
that is so fun. Like, you know, like he just really gets his ass handed to him, you know, and he barely gets the upper hand, and it's great though. It's so cool.
And the one thing that I just can't stop laughing is that that before, when the Green Goblin just sees like that huge thing that's going towards him before he dies, he goes, "Oh."
Just like right before
that close up zoom. Oh
yeah, so good. So like,
and it's funny how you know, the color palette change, you know, throughout the thing. You know, it's like really bright and colorful, you know, with the fight, and then at the end it's like brutal and it's just like dark, and really, you know, sets up how the mood and atmosphere really changes. You know, how quickly the film can be like really cheerful and then gets dark really straight away, and I like that. So
I think Sam Raimi is amazing at balancing his tones. You see it, I think you see it best in Spider-Man 2, but I think the guy is so good at it. You know, you kind of get this crescendo of you know, Norman figures out who Peter is, and you get, you know, him attacking Aunt May and stuff, and like, and you know, it gets really dark, and then it kind of comes back, you know, to a bit of the sincerity and stuff, and you know, a little bit of goof as well, and then like, you know, I said, to get the final battle, and like, I think sometimes the CGI is a bit clunky. You know, it's 2002, it's a bit early days, but everything, the action and swinging, I think is so well framed and paced. You know, I don't think it's a problem that the CGI isn't always up to scratch. It's very slightly distracting, but I think it looks great. And as you said, that final action scene is so visceral, you know, and like brutal, and it really makes you think, you know, like, oh, is Peter going to make it out of this? Because he's actually getting his ass handed to him right now.
Yeah. And it really reflects about what Spider-Man does. It's kind of, it's similar to Batman, Killing Rule, and Spider-Man not trying to kill other villains. And as I read, like, comics and video games within Spider-Man, they don't die, but then it takes the toll on Spider-Man. How like Green Goblin, it takes that toll. He's died, he's been killed, and Goblin saying that don't tell Harry because that's going to have that bigger impact. And it serves him as as a great superhero, and he learns about it, but it takes a massive toll on him for the next movie. So yeah, if you and it makes him a great character if what makes him Spider-Man, with great power comes with great ability. Having that huge fight, getting beaten by Green Goblin, and it's pretty powerful. What Spider-Man wants to do.
No, like that final scene in the funeral. You get you see some light of Harry and of MJ, but Peter walking away, and you get that narration. No matter what I do, no matter how hard I try, the people I love will always be the ones who pay. This is my gift. This is my curse. Who am I? I'm Spider-Man. He knows who he is at the end of the film, and that's amazing. And I will never forget these words: of great power comes great responsibility. And you get the final swing. Come on, it's so good. You get just Spider-Man swinging through the city. Danny Elfman's score, the Spidey suit. I love the Spidey suit in this film. It's not even peak Raimi trilogy, but it looks so cool. Raised webbing any day, so cool. The colors, it's all practical. Obviously there's a CG model as well, but the early wrestling suit is also amazing. But that final swing, ending the film on that high note, despite everything, cinema, just cinema, man. So cool.
Cinema.
Cool.
And I just really love the funny bits in Spider-Man, because it's the goofiness, and when he tries to do the first web sling, trying to do the first web sling, and the way that Tobey Maguire is just like trying to
go web, fly,
go web,
away web, Shazam. Yeah, I love it. So good. Like obviously you've got J. Jonah Jameson as well, brilliantly played by J.K. Simmons. So fun. Like I love it.
He's a criminal.
Who is Spider-Man? He's a vigilante, a menace. Like he's so funny.
Yeah, and the most frustrating thing is that you don't see Jameson like any other films properly. That's another thing. What how other people perceive Spider-Man. Have that other perspective in the film, because that makes it hilarious, but also what other people think is Spider-Man is a vigilante. Like in a Dark Knight trilogy, what the cops in Gotham were like, oh my god, who's this vigilante? So having Jonah Jameson just like has that
and it perpetuates Peter with negativity. Spider-Man is a very down on his luck character, kind of inherently, and like and Peter, no matter what, no matter how good he might be feeling, he'll feel really downtrodden by someone like Jameson saying about how how much Spider-Man sucks. And yeah, so just honestly, this film is everything. I have small nitpicks, CGI, some of the pacing. James Franco isn't the best actor, but like, dude, this is so good. I'm gonna give it 9 out of 10.
Yes,
I love it.
I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10, especially that this is my first Spider-Man film, or first ever superhero film. Just like have that great impact. And as you said about what America, being through with 9/11, and coming out a year later, there was a quote when all the civilians in New York are trying to throwing stuff at Green Goblin. They said, "If you mess one of us, you get all of us." I think that was the quote. Yeah.
I love, yeah, that moment again, just seeing people rally behind a superhero. A hero is there to inspire. They are there, to help people, and seeing the people, like, as much as I enjoy stories that twist that show people struggling, that shows heroes struggling against society, I I just can't not love. You mess with Spidey, you mess with New York. You're gonna pick on a guy trying to save a bunch of kids. Like, just yeah. And that was added later on. Was it added like because of 9/11? Who knows? But it's so great that that's in there. It's so heartwarming. What a film. Absolutely brilliant.
9 out of 10.
Absolutely.
Now,
cannot deny.
It's time to move on.
Yeah.
To Spider-Man 2.
It is indeed. How does one make a good sequel? Spider-Man 2. That is just how you do it. Everything, like, wow, everything is better than the first, right down to the opening credits, which are used really smartly to recap the plot of the first film, with like beautiful Alex Ross, I believe it's Alex Ross artwork. Like, what? Like, what? Jesus, Sam Raimi, no one told you to go this hard, but he did. This film is superior Sam, in every single way.
Calm down, man. Just calm down. This is like,
dude, it's too much. I'm kidding. It's not enough.
But this, it's just perfect opening from the ending of the first film. Leading up to what the first film's been going through, and it's like, oh my god, wow, and there's Harry losing his dad, and then and Spider-Man not telling Harry about Green Goblin, but this is just a perfect. Perfect! It's cinema. Come on,
it really is. Honestly, like, this film doesn't struggle, like, with like the kind of sequel thing. All the stories of the characters are progressed amazingly. The relationship with Peter and MJ, it goes further. The payoff of everything they go through, the way their friendship strains to the point of MJ learning Peter's identity. It's an amazing reveal. And then they get together at the end. And the way that, and again, the classic final swing is used as a triumphant moment for Peter. Peter goes through so much in this film, but he gets a win. And
a win
that, and he gets with MJ, and the film makes it so earned. It doesn't feel like it's stretching for a sequel. It feels like exactly where the characters are supposed to go, and it's a perfect kind of payoff.
Yeah, and the one thing that I loved in this film was showing that Peter Parker, there was like limitations that he had. Like, he was being vulnerable. He couldn't have like the web sling anymore. He was like stressed. I think like you couldn't web sling or anymore. Like, how could he be Spider-Man? But there was a lot of stuff that he was going through, and I appreciate that, because to quote Stan Lee, is that Stan Lee didn't like Superman because he was too powerful, but he needs, so he wrote Spider-Man as a character that he was there was moments that he was vulnerable, and that would connect to the audiences what Spider-Man is, and I really like that throughout the film, he was like trying to talk to MJ, but then there was a lot of problems that he was facing as well with Harry, and that huge reveal with Harry with the end with that. It's just like top to everything to that. It's just like, oh my god, he's been through a lot, and oh my god, Dr. Octopus throughout the film. Yes, this is a perfect villain as well.
I think Peter's arc, his struggle in most Spider-Man stories is whether he can be Spider-Man Peter Parker, whether he can balance these two identities. But this time he can't. He gives into his selfish desires, and you get that amazing Spider-Man No More story where he finally gets everything he wants. But at what cost? At the cost of his responsibility. It's hence why the train sequence is so good. It's not just a brilliant action sequence. It's cathartic. Peter has finally given in, and he's Spider-Man No More, and he is things are finally going well in his life, but because of that, the city begins to suffer. Crime is on the rise, and even Jameson says it. He was a hero, I just couldn't see it. People die on Peter's watch, and and it makes moments like that one kid saying, It's good to have you back, Spider-Man. One of the most touching Spider-Man moments on cinema.
Oh,
It's like they carry him, and they say, after he saves them on the train, and they say, carefully, he's a hero. He's just a kid, no older than my son. And that guy's like, don't worry, we're not going to tell anyone, because he just saved their asses. This shit is so good, man. I can't so many comic book films, it just misses this. This kind of sincerity and these like brilliant moments.
yeah, and there's other moments that I really love. When Spider-Man saves the train collision, and from falling, and the other civilians like hold him, like says, "Careful, he's a hero," and they tell not a single soul what Spider-Man looked like.
It's brilliant. It's just it's perfect. And even with the that is a great action scene as well. Not only is it a great scene, like an emotional scene, but the CGI is improved so much. This film has some of the best action sequences. Obviously the train sequences has so much tension, amazing, fast and brilliant action, and the cinematography, right? So good. The swinging scenes look so 1,000 times better than the third film. The shot, right, probably one of my favorite shots ever. So Jameson standing there and he's like, it's a hero. I couldn't see it. And then Spider-Man takes his suit. He's like, my suit, Spider-Man, he's a menace. Bring me Spider-Man. And it zooms out on this high angle shot of J. Jonah. And then it cuts to like a newspaper being like, he's back. And then Spider-Man swings through the newspaper, through the city, and then it pans out through, and it reveals it's through the reflection of Doc Ock's glasses. What the hell? So insanely good. I don't even like what cinema.
Yeah.
That is what cinema. Just at its finest. I love it, man.
Yeah. And what was it? The one thing that I love as well with Dr. Octopus or Doc Ock was that the arc throughout the film was powerful, because there's like no other villain that I could think of that what he's been through is he was trying to make the world a better place, but then experiment went wrong, and that caused his wife to die. So with that CGI glass falling toward collision, that is like a very scary and kind of cool, but not cool, but like very frightening.
Visually it's cool.
Visually, yeah. And throughout the film, that he didn't want to be like a monster that we have with the tentacles. Are they tentacles? I mean the robot.
Yeah. They're tentacles. Tentacles, arms, I guess. Yeah.
Tentacle arms. Yeah. Tentacle arms, and like the arms that he has, and slowly that he's losing who wants to be as himself throughout the film, and like robbing a bank. Yeah, there's robbing the bank, and then fighting.
You're getting on my nerves. I have an act
for that. The man even had the nerve to fight Aunt May, because she just had a stick. Like, he just decided to.
Yeah, so good.
And throughout the film, like at the last final moment that he saw what he was going to do, and especially seeing that Peter Parker was veiled as Spider-Man, who he was, and he really has that self realization about that realization about what he was doing the entire time, and what Cinema Sins would say. Cinema wins, not Cinema Sins. Cinema wins. What Cinema Wins would say: self-sacrifice. That tone he has.
Yeah,
self-sacrifice.
Definitely.
And
you just gotta love it. Pete, like the ending is like it's not the biggest hero versus villain fight, but it boils down to what every comic book movie should boil down to, in my opinion. It's you get that in The Dark Knight, you get it in like other films too. I can't think of any top of my head. But Eternals is a good example of something that does it recently. It boils down to a conversation. Peter doesn't defeat Doc Ock physically. He appeals to his humanity. He convinces Ock to come back and be good, imparting on Ock the very wisdom Peter has learned, that doing what's right sometimes means you have to give up what means the most to us, even our dreams. And Doc Ock's death, he doesn't die a monster. He finishes his arc doing the right thing and regaining his humanity, showing the way that Spider-Man can inspire even the most lost people. Like that's what you do an antagonist. He's introduced. He was a good-hearted man with a dream and a happy relationship, and that makes his eventual downfall so heartbreaking. He doesn't want to be a monster, but he ends up succumbing to the will of his arms. He ends like he wants to help humanity and complete his experiment, but he becomes a monster in the way that he achieves this. But the fact that Spider-Man can bring him back, I mean,
oof,
you gotta love it. Like, that is just Spider-Man inspiring people is better than everything. It's better than any action scene,
Yeah.
And I will talk about it next week with Amazing Spider-Man. Spider-Man helping the city and inspiring people is everything. That's
it's
what Spider-Man should be.
I
think every Spider-Man film at some point, well, most Spider-Man films at some point have that, and we love to see it.
What's the other thing I was going to say? And that whole relationship between Harry and Peter was, really intense in this film. With that huge reveal. When Harry finds out who was, Spider-Man the whole time, and that realization. Oh my god! And that's going to be the impact for the third film. So, that was another moment that really stuck out to me as well. And
it kind of goes to show how good of a person Peter is. As I say, he keeps Norman's dying wish, even when so many points, even when Harry's slapping Peter in the face, Harry continues to be defined by the resentment that makes his friendship with Peter so bittersweet. He's friends with Peter bread, guys. And the way that he begins to go down that dark path, and that is that's again, it builds his arc, and it builds it to Spider-Man 3 and takes their friendship to kind of new and dramatic levels. We'll kind of talk about where that goes when we get to New Goblin, the best villain ever in Spider-Man 3.
I'm just thinking, no, there wasn't any other villains, because my brain decided to go think of like Amazing Spider-Man 2. I'm like, no, this is Spider-Man 2. This is Spider-Man 2.
Well, speaking of villains, let's quickly talk about bringing Doc Ock back in No Way Home. Dr. Octopus dies and he redeems himself. He says, I do not want to be a monster, and he doesn't die a monster. And now he's coming back. What do you think?
Right. Here's why I'm speculating on this. It's No Way Home. Doc Ock will be a good person in this film, not like a villain throughout the film, because you don't see like him fighting or doing other things in the film. I think he's trying to help Peter Parker, but I'm just hoping that he has that arc, realizes that he's not a monster anymore. But I don't know why he just decides to fight Spider-Man at that trailer, what I mean, like he fights and goes, hello Peter.
I hope that whatever it is, I hope that maybe he's controlled by his arms again. I hope that whatever they do, they don't retcon Spider-Man 2, sorry. I think retcons can work sometimes, but I feel like his arc and his death is so kind of powerful, so who knows. But again, fingers crossed it's not terrible. However, if it is terrible, this film's still got some amazing arc moments.
They're like No Way Home. Go back and watch Spider-Man 2 again.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares about No Way Home?
Why did they decide to do this film?
Watch Spider-Man 2, watch Spider-Verse, the better films, But
yes.
There's that scene where like Ock, what Ock's like being operated on, and his arms come alive. Raimi's flexing this horror roots, but like, it's so cool, like the arms coming alive, throwing people around. It's so cool. But then obviously like it adds so much more layers to the character, how like he wakes up and then he screams in pain and he cries out because realizing what he's done. And so cool, man. So cool. And as I said, Spider-Man or Sam Raimi, his balancing of tones is excellent. He goes from a really emotional scene where Peter Parker gives up Spider-Man. He puts the suit in the bin and he says, Spider-Man, no more. He walks away and it fades into black. And then they start playing rain. And then they start bloody playing Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. And Peter's walking down the street like it's anybody's business. Just raindrops keep falling on. It's like, just like, absolutely, like, what's going on right now? It's amazing. How does that even work?
I don't know. But what you said about, putting the suit in the bin, that's a good callback to a comic.
Yes, it is.
A cover issue where Spider-Man puts stop done being Spider-Man. Yeah, that's a great callback. I like, how much heart and soul has put into this film, these films, and there's so many great moments. Pizza time. Yes.
Pizza time. This film is so funny. There's so many like amazingly hilarious moments, even among all the drama and all the emotions, like pizza time, like that whole raindrops keep falling on my head montage. Harry Osborn is funny. He's just like, I'm ruined. I have nothing left except Spider-Man. He saved your life, sir. He humiliated me by touching me. Like, it's just funny. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, who knows? But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about Spider-Man 2. 10 out of 10, man. I don't like.
Oh yeah, 10 out of 10.
Absolutely incredible.
Wait, I'm just thinking more things. Like, there's one thing I was about to say that. What was it? No, wait. Okay.
Think, John. You got it.
Think, John. Think. Mark. Think. Invincible.
Mark?
Like.
Oh right, Mark. Yeah.
Invincible. Like Mark.
A.K. Simmons
think,
again.
Mark,
think, Mark. Yeah.
Okay. What was it about? Come on. What was it? Analyze. Okay. What was it? I'm having a not good brain moment right now. My brain is like confusing itself. Why is it questioning life all of a sudden? Am I panicking? Am I dying? I don't know.
Well, while you think about it, I just want to say I love how this film also brings back Uncle Ben for Peter's little conversation in like.
Yes, I remember now.
Whoa, okay, right, go on.
Okay, so the ending scene, that final swing, when MJ says, "Go get him, Tiger." That yes, cinema. Like how it just really perfectly sets up their relationship. How it's a win-win situation for I mean not win-win, but like how they got together at the end, and like from the first film, you see that relationship. When they first meet in the back garden and understanding their life, and it's just such a good relationship that it's perfectly in love, and you don't see that in any other Spider-Man films.
I mean, in fairness, I think Peter and Gwen in Amazing Spider-Man is excellent, but I mean, Spider-Man 2. I think what this film does so well is Peter is struggling. He loves this girl and he wants to be with her, but he has a responsibility, and it all comes back to the fact that he's struggling with that responsibility. And at the end, finally them getting together and him being able to have what he wants. There's a moment where he says, "Am I not supposed to have what I want? What am I supposed to do?" And I think the idea that he does get that final thing that he wants. It's a very interesting setup for Spider-Man 3. Like, where does it go next?
Yeah, where does it go next?
Well, let's talk about where it goes next. Spider-Man 3. I mean, this is the film that ended the Raimi trilogy, and it began the unfortunate Spider-Man saga of Sony destroying filmmakers' visions. I'm looking at you, Avi Arad. Stop it, please. But saying that, although Raimi, who the fuck? What am I talking about? Raimi, my boy Sam. Even though Raimi was, he was forced into student mandate. He mastered it like a god, in my opinion. It's not like Justice League. It's not like Suicide Squad. It's not like Amazing Spider-Man 2 where things are forced in. I think he very, very, like, obviously he didn't want to do Venom, but I think he excellently incorporated it. This film is the weakest of the trilogy, undoubtedly, by a long way. But I still think there's a lot to love. And, I wouldn't say it's not great, but by no means is Spider-Man 3 a bad film to me,
Yeah, Spider-Man 3 is just a great film, to be honest. Like, what it incorporates in, what it deals with Spider-Man as well, throughout the film, and it's a really different take. What Tobey Maguire said in an interview where he was saying about what we talked
about the
what
boss
we
baby.
discussing about a boss baby.
He's just a kind of boss baby. That's what he is, John.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing.
The boss baby.
Boss baby. No, what was it? Oh yeah, so talking about Spider-Man 3 and what the role was going to be like for him in this film. He said that it was really dark, and it was a bit of a challenge for him, actually, that what he was going to do for this. But he had kind of fun. I mean, with that dance montage in Spider-Man 3.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, first of all, I love that montage. Unironically, it's amazing. But yeah, this film really goes for stuff, you know, like, even in the opening titles again, brilliant. You know, they recap, you know, the previous two films, but they also kind of reflect what's to come in the film. You know, Danny Elfman doesn't do the score anymore, but I think Christopher Young, he does an amazing job. He still uses Elfman's Spider-Man theme, but, you know, he also has like a really good symbiote theme. But like in the titles, you know, you get this, you know, Spider-Man theme, you know, as you see like all the characters and stuff. And then like the sand and the symbiote crashes into the webs, and the symbiote theme comes in like as the tragedy strikes in Peter's life. Uncle Ben dies, you know, Norman dies, you know, like he sees MJ with someone else, like he gets like slapped by Harry, and then like, but then the triumphant Elfman score comes straight back in as Peter remembers why he's Spider-Man and comes back to save the day, reflecting the journey of the film. You know, it's weird. The opening credits of this film are just like the film itself. They kind of like reflect what goes on. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a little TED talk there about why I love the opening credits of this film.
Oh yeah, the opening credits. Oh my god, it's so aesthetically pleasing.
You know, at the ending of No Way Home, some people have suggested that the end No Way Home with Raimi style like outro with like the webs and like all the characters like illustrated with like the this is just like speculation. That would be so cool. Can you imagine if No Way Home ends with like the Raimi Spider-Man theme and like, you know, get some Alex Ross paintings in there of all the characters? That would be
nostalgic. That would be
incredible. That would be so good.
And I mean, when I watched this for the first time, I had a bit of a problem with this first one because it was a bit different, you know. I mean, like from the first two, like what a different take was going to be with Spider-Man, but it was really different. Wait, when was I'm getting mixed up with the scenes now? Which scene was it when? No, it was Spider-Man 2 when Doc Ock threw the car at Peter and
Doc Ock's dead in this one, John. I hate to break it to you, but he dies.
I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up with the scenes. But Spider-Man 3, it was different with the Venom symbiote. Venom.
This was my favorite as a kid, and like I remember I had like toys of like Venom, Spider-Man. No, I didn't have. It's weird. I had Venom, I had Sandman, and I had New Goblin, but I didn't have Spider-Man. How am I supposed to play with the villains and not like? I don't even know what I did, but I used to love this film. I used to adore the hell out of it, man, and I still do. You know, as I said before, this trilogy is about three people: Peter, Mary Jane, Harry. And I think the film, you know, it perfectly finishes the story the trilogy has been telling with them. You know, Peter and MJ's relationship, it isn't easy, but it was never going to be. You know, this film does unexpectedly, it does it so well that Peter is an asshole in this film. He's blinded by hubris. He becomes so big-headed, you know, because he's kind of, right? That, you know, that when MJ needs him, when she's been kicked out of her dream of you know, performing on Broadway, he can't empathize with her, you know? There's so much like in this relationship, that builds up. And the fact that we start this film with him being such a jackass, I think is a really, really interesting way to start. It's a very different way to start it, but I think it's still done very, very well.
Yeah. And you can see like throughout the film, especially at the end when Harry, self-sacrifice to fight against. Wait,
Venom.
I'm just trying to think. Sandman, right?
Venom.
Yes, because
Venom.
No, wait,
Venom.
The bomb. No, Venom. Yes, Venom.
Yeah, no, he comes in, he throws the pumpkin bomb at Sandman, and it explodes. Yeah.
Yes, I'm kind of getting mixed up because that last scene was a bit all over the place for me.
Let's kind of like let's go villain by villain, shall we? Let's talk about Sandman first. So he was the villain that Raimi wanted, and I think that is really evident, in what we get from him. If I were to detail what was cut from the Spider-Man story, we'd be here all day. Released the Raimi cut, by the way. But, he says it himself. He's not a bad guy. He's just had bad luck. He just wanted to save his daughter, and that's what his character is about. He has that beautiful scene of him forming his body out of the sand for the first time. Incredible CGI. And the thing that gives him confidence to eventually do it is the locket with a picture of his daughter in it. And yes, they retcon Uncle Ben's death in this film. It wasn't Dennis Carradine. It was Sandman, Flint Marko. Peter is his lowest point, struggling with MJ, and is told that the mistake he made, the very reason he became Spider-Man, the guilt he felt, is all a lie. And that now the person who was responsible is still out there, Yes, they retconned Uncle Ben's death, but this is exactly how you do it. Peter is vulnerable. He's angry. And this is where the symbiote comes in. It enhances his emotions, his anger, and he gets the black suit and he kills Sandman. It's mental. Like, obviously Sandman doesn't die, but Peter thinks he's killed him. As you said, good riddance. Like, it's really dark and really bold for a Spider-Man film,
Yeah. And I thought, watching the Spider-Man 3 film, I thought it was really emotional, having, Sandman trying to do something for his daughter, I think. For the medicine, right? And then got like powers and then you can see like that whole thing with the characters as well. They have like the family like family matters as well, and like how things can change their lives with something that happens. I don't know, I'm trying to make a connection, but
I think that core of the character is really good. Here's a fun fact for you, John. In the Raimi cut, which hasn't been released but definitely should be released,
wait, what?
Oh my god, so much of this film was cut, you've no idea. There was a scene where so basically there was this subplot of Sandman trying to get the medicine from this doctor that he was working with, and in the final battle, this doctor brings Sandman's family to stop him from beating Peter. That was like gonna be like a thing that happened, but they cut it because why? I have no idea. Sandman just kind of gets blown up and then just kind of like reappears later on. I don't know, but it would have been great if I could tell you about all the things I know they cut from this film. It's intense. You should follow some of the Release the Raimi cut accounts on like Instagram or Twitter, probably on Reddit as well. It's really interesting. But yeah, I think Sandman is really strong in this film. And I definitely it's evident that this is who Raimi wanted. But you know what? Raimi might have been forced into it, but my God, he did the symbiote well. Like, I think the symbiote in this film is so cool. Peter uses it like a crutch. It's a perfect metaphor for drug, alcohol abuse. This might have been illustrated better in the editor's cut, but even in the theatrical cut, whenever Peter's in the black suit and the things he does in it makes the end, makes the ending of the film where he comes back to New York, save MJ, the Elfin theme blaring and the city people in the city cheering, so undeniably epic. Peter is, like, you get like him doing some horrible things in this suit, being consumed by his kind of like by his anger and his rage, and every time he suffers a defeat in this film, in the editor's cut, he kind of goes back and forth. In the theatrical, it's not as good, but whenever he acts out of anger instead of selflessness, so often, And like I said before, Peter Parker, he's so dorky. He's a nerd and he's goofy. And my God, the dance montage, I love it. Not the jazz club scene. I think that's a little bit, that's that goes a bit too far. But the Saturday Night Fever scene where Peter's, strutting down the street and dancing, he's consuming his own hubris. It's brilliant and it's fun as well. It's the perfect forward to who he was in the previous two films. It contrasts the raindrops keep falling on my head scene, and it furthers his arc, and it does make his return to the classic red and blue color so perfect. And it's funny. It's a funny scene.
Yes. Funny. Yes.
Yeah, I love that scene so much, man. Like,
yeah,
I know people think it's stupid, but it's supposed to be stupid. It's supposed to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think it's
it's supposed to be stupid, like Peter just dancing around on the piano. Yes. Yeah, that scene.
No, the scene where he's going through New York when he's on the piano in the jazz club. I think that's a little bit kind of like, a little bit too much, because I feel like it goes from, it can't really like control its it can't really balance its tones. I think Raimi's normally good with that, but I'm not sure. I don't think he's that good in this scene, really.
That was a weird scene. That was like, what?
It's funny, but I don't think in the right ways.
What scene were you referring to? Because my brain is like,
when he's dancing down the street.
Yes, that one.
Like, so good.
My brain decided to think of the scene where because my brain like this says, oh no, Tom's talking about this scene. I'm like, no, he's talking that. I'm like, no, he's talking about. I'm just like conflicting.
That's all right.
Yeah, but like with that, that's like cinema. Just like walking down the street, dancing away, and just having no care in the world. And there's one YouTube video that had no sound to.
Yes. And it's just him just going down the street, just like, woo! Yeah, like,
and then the last second to the end of the video, you can hear the guy walking past going, asshole to eat like this thing.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I guess you would be if you just started dancing in New York. It'd be great.
I mean, you can't. It's funny because Jake Gyllenhaal also danced in New York. In a film called Demolition Man, and a lot of people were like, what the heck's he doing?
Is this Spider-Man 3?
Spider-Man 4?
Oh my God. Yeah, bring back the montages. I love how they reference that in Spider-Verse when, like, at the beginning when Peter Parker's talking and he's like, and I did this, and it cuts to him doing the Spider-Man 3 dance and he's like, we don't talk about this.
Brilliant. If they're going to talk about that in No Way Home.
Yeah, maybe they will. Who knows? There's a lot, to kind of tackle. But I think, we've already talked about so much, but we haven't got to New Goblin or Venom yet. We've almost been talking as long as we were talking. We've almost been talking as long as we were talking about Spider-Man 3. And I think the biggest problem with this film, by far, is that it's got so many elements battling for screen time. Sam had so much that was left on the cutting room floor. Without it, so many elements, the film feels underdeveloped. Everything positive that I've said, I stand by that 100%, but it's all fighting for screen time. There are just too many villains. Multiple villains can work. The Dark Knight trilogy, every single film has 3 villains. There are probably other examples too, but that's my first thought, right? But here, I don't think they all work because none of them get a chance to be fully developed. I love the symbiote. Yeah. I really do. I love it in Peter in the black suit, but Venom, he barely gets 20 minutes of screen time. Like Eddie Brock, Venom, but Eddie Brock's perfect. Topher Grace plays him amazingly. He's an asshole. He should be, and he gets on the wrong side of Peter the symbiote just after. But after this, he becomes nothing. Venom he's just another boss fight at the end. But I love how Eddie becomes consumed by the power and ends up killing himself to be with it. But Sam Raimi, he was gonna go like so much further with the horror elements, but Sony made him change it, and it's a really real shame,
Yeah, and I can tell that Sam Raimi really wanted to have everything in this film, but it was a bit hard because the Spider-Man 4, you saw that announcement, and on Twitter, that's a sad.
That's a universe I want to visit where Spider-Man
Yeah.
4 happened. Have you seen like the unfinished stuff for Spider-Man 4? Like the storyboards?
Yes, I heard about it.
Vulture?
Yeah.
Vulture is gonna be in
Vulture.
it, maybe played by John Malkovich.
Mysterio.
Mysterio, played by Bruce Campbell. So you know how Bruce Campbell gets a cameo in all three films. In the first one,
Yes.
he is the announcer at the wrestling match. In the second one, he is at the theater. And in the third one, he's the French waiter. And in the fourth one, it would confirm that all three of those guys are the same person, Mysterio. That's so fun. So much fun. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and
there's been rumors that Sony are going to do a Spider-Man 4.
but
Please make Spider-Man 4, guys.
Okay. If this No Way Home is going to be like really cool, if they're going to announce Spider-Man 4 at the end of this film of the No Way Home,
yeah, like he did with the Book of Boba Fett at the end of Mandalorian season 2, just like announcing it like right out of the blue. That would be so cool. That'd be so cool, man.
Oh, that'd be so cool. But we're not in that reality. We're just gonna be.
Hey, we might be in that reality.
Yeah. Who is directing No Way Home? I forgot.
It's John Watts. Same guy who did Homecoming and Far From Home. But the word on the street is that Sam Raimi and Mark Webb were consulted about their characters and where to take them next, which I think is exactly how you should do it. That is like, you know, like they are the people who have made these characters. And no, John. But like, yeah, I think it's a good idea to be having, you know, those two characters, those two directors, should I say, dealing with their characters, you know, and making sure it's the right way.
Yes. I'm just trying to, you know, not be angry with, you know, John Watts directing No Way Home. I mean, it's a lot of
Don't worry, John. We're gonna get to the MCU Spider-Man films in a couple of weeks.
We don't want to talk about Far From Home, man. We don't want to talk about Far From Home.
We're gonna have to because I don't want to watch it for nothing, man. Jesus, I've got so many thoughts. I've got so many thoughts, man.
I don't want to watch it again. It just ruins everything.
Oh well, I'm sorry, but if I had to watch it, so do you. But yeah,
Homecoming was even better, but
yeah,
that was a bit of a problem. That film as well.
Yeah, we'll certainly get to it. Yeah, I think, you know, Venom, he's kind of bland in the fight scenes.
Yeah, very bland. Yeah,
but I think the action is still really cool. One of my favorite scenes is the scene where Spider-Man saves Gwen, who she's barely a character in this film. But like, whenever he fights Gwen, it's so cool. Like, not fights Gwen. Imagine.
Fights Gwen.
Spider-Man versus
like
Gwen Stacy.
Again. Yeah.
Brilliant. No, when he's like saving Gwen like from like the falling building, so cool. When he fights Sandman twice, like properly, so much fun. And you know, like whenever, you know, his fights with like New Goblin as well. I think there's some really cool stuff. I think the Sandman stuff is the best though. Like, you know, the fight in the truck when, like, you know, he punches through him and he sweeps his legs, and then like when he fights him on the train and he smashes him into the moving train. Some really cool stuff there, man. So fun.
Yeah. And I don't know what to say about Spider-Man 3. I mean, Spider-Man 3 was really different with all the new elements as well that it was tackling through, and there was some different arcs as well. But oh my god, I had like a huge like memories about the unusual. Was it the Unusual Suspect or was it Usual Suspect?
Unusual Suspect. Yeah. His reviews. I'm talking about Spider-Man.
The films. Yeah, they were great. There were just so many hilarious bits that he went through, and what Spider-Man was dealing through in Spider-Man 3. And what was the funny bit I was thinking? It's just gone. What's wrong with my brain today? Right. Yes. It was like no, it's just went away again. Damn it. What is wrong with my brain?
Well, I'll because we haven't talked about New Goblin yet. I think that Harry, I think is the worst part of this film in this one.
Yeah.
I think it's a shame. You know, I really love New Goblin. I think he's so stupid. But he becomes a full-out antagonist way too soon, without the film giving us a chance to see his progression. You know, from realizing that that his best friend is the man he's sworn to kill for years at the end of Spider-Man 2. And then he just goes from somebody who's ready to kill him. You know, like I feel like maybe he should have struggled a bit more with this realization, and then his transformation into Goblin, and then they gave him amnesia. You know, I understand why they gave him amnesia, but Raimi said that he wanted to present their friendship and, not just rely on memories from the other films, but I don't think it lasts long enough to mean anything. And then Harry's evil again,
Yeah. The soundtrack in this one was it the same by Danny Elfman?
No, it was Christopher Young. So Danny Elfman and Sam Raimi, I believe, were having some sort of fight at this point. So Elfman didn't come back.
Oh,
but Christopher Young did it. I think did a good job. I really like the pieces that he uses for different like characters. The symbiote theme. Like when the symbiote first latches itself onto Peter, and you get the shot of all the goo kind of coming up his suit, and then the suit going black, and Peter wakes up at the last minute just as the screen folds up with symbiote, and then you get the and then Peter's it zooms out and you see the black suit for the first time. I think it's excellent.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to think of more stuff because you said all the things that about Spider-Man 3.
Literally, I've got so many notes. So it's I would argue that some of these things come back to a large issue of tonal dissonance. It's less of an issue in the editor's cut. Now I must say, from everything that I've heard about the editor's cut, and I own the editor's cut, so I should watch it, but I haven't seen it. But there are a lot of scenes that that go from wacky and insane to kind of dark, like the jazz club scene. And I understand why people hate these scenes. Raimi might be good at balancing tones, but he definitely goes overboard, sometimes, and it does take some of the impact away,
Yes. And
Indeed.
And it's so many things he's saying. I'm like, oh no, what am I gonna say? Because I don't want to repeat.
I don't think anyone is prepared for how much I have to say about Spider-Man. I could be talking about this for hours, man.
Oh man.
I'll wrap up.
Yeah.
I'll give you my final thoughts, okay, and then we can.
Okay.
And then you can give your final thoughts, and then we can head on out.
Yeah.
Even though I critique New Goblin, his fight with Peter, and then the eventual realization that he should put his pain aside and help his friends, I think is really cool. The butler scene is ridiculous. The butler comes out of nowhere. It's like, hey, by the way, that's stupid. But the core emotions are there. Especially in the editor's cut. In the editor's cut, he just sees a picture of him with his friends, and he decides to help. And I think it's a lot better. And I think that this scene is done really well. So that his eventual return to the battle, in the final battle where he throws the thing, and him and he grabs Peter's hand and he lifts him up. I think it's a really cathartic moment in the trilogy. Him and Peter get a chance to be friends again and work together to save MJ. And his death and what it teaches Peter, it's a great ending and it's a great lesson. They end the film with a lesson. Harry ends it and he's like, Peter, you're my best friend, and I'm sorry, and he teaches Peter that you have a lesson, you have a choice to be who you want to be. You can be the best, the best version of yourself, to forgive yourself. Peter and MJ dance at the end. No final swing, just two people in love dancing and realizing that maybe things will be okay in the end. It just fades out into black. No triumphant final swing, just just an emotional ending. Honestly, this film it has quite a bit of bad in it, but also a lot to redeem it, and a really strong ending to the trilogy. It doesn't deserve the hate, and I'm glad it gets a lot more love these days. It's good, but it's just too short of all the things it's trying to do. The editor's cut, as I've said, I hear it's an improvement, but they need to release the Raimi cut. I'd love there to be Spider-Man 4, but I'd be happy if this is where we ended it, honestly, because I think it's a strong ending. It's not perfect, but I think it is strong. All right, what are your final thoughts then?
My final thoughts of Spider-Man 3 is that there was a lot of problems that the film was facing. Too many elements, the villains as well, and it was a bit fast paced, to be honest, with some of the stuff that it was tackling through, again with some unusual arcs as well. But the arcs did come to a great execution at the end of the film. So
yeah, it definitely did.
yeah, especially with Harry, because with Harry throughout the film was really annoying, but as you said, but with the arc again, that really reflects on like two of the films throughout that one, and there was like some retcons that kind of ruined. But I mean, again, with Sandman killing Uncle Ben in the first one, also again that really reflects the Spider-Man, like good with being this dark character in this one and showing like a different side to Spider-Man. That's an interesting concept to see throughout the film. That was really intriguing to watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not. Yeah, again, it was just too many things at once. To be honest, but I'm gonna give this an 8 or or 7.
Nice. I'm gonna go 6. I think that
no 7. Yeah, 7. I'm gonna go 7.
Okay, because I think for me, it's good, and I think the stuff that I love is amazing, but stuff I don't love, So yeah, I'm just gonna go for 6. But yeah, that's the Spider-Man trilogy, isn't it? I think it's still the best representation of Spider-Man we've had on screen. I think
agree.
it's much better than what we've got since. I think Sam Raimi's a god. I'd love a Spider-Man 4, and I'm excited to see Tobey Maguire back in No Way Home. I can't believe it's actually happening, but it is. And at the end of the day, even if everything sucks in No Way Home, nothing can ever change this trilogy. We have it, and
No,
the films are great, aren't they?
Yeah, and this whole trilogy is just like the best comic book film trilogy, or like comic book trope to have. Like to anyone who's like a big fan of like the superheroes and everything, and it really was a really cool introduction to my life, to watching films and earlier age.
Your life. You came out of the womb and they were like, watch Spider-Man, do it. Just sat you down as a newborn baby. You were like,
tape, and I think my dad gave me the VHS tape. I think and he was like, "Yo, just watch it." And he didn't say, "Yeah, watch it." just watch it.
Hey, yo, John, watch the film. Pizza time, come on. Yeah.
And I even remembered, I don't know, but I think I had a figure of Green Goblin, but that's
really
why I can
cool.
remember. I didn't know,
awesome.
But I didn't. So yeah.
So cool. Man.
Oh man, I love these films.
This I mean, it says it in the title of the video. This film, this trilogy, it's iconic. It really is. This is, you said it yourself, it's probably one of the best superhero trilogies. It's either this or the Dark Knight trilogy for me. Or the Justice League trilogy is also pretty strong. It says the Captain America trilogy. Actually, there's quite a few good trilogies, superhero trilogies, but this is a good one. It really is. And yeah, I think that's everything. Let's roll it out, shall we? Thanks everyone for watching.
Yes.
Next week we're going to be doing Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. So we're going to continue this and move on to the dark reboot of the Spider-Man franchise. I've already watched it, and I won't say what I think, but yeah, good luck watching it, John.
Yeah, Spider-Man 1 and 2 that we're gonna review next week. And Spider-Man 2,
the Amazing Spider-Man 2, John.
Oh god. Anyway, thank you for listening. We enjoyed talking about this amazing trilogy.
It's late. We're doing this on the Thursday because I'm off to London tomorrow. This is later than I anticipated. My head hurts, man.
Yeah, and it's such a great film trilogy to talk about. There's like so many good moments to talk about, and I mean, it's just amazing. Thank you for listening. We enjoyed again talking about this. And if there's any other,
John's stuck in a time loop.
No, if you want like any other films to look back or to talk about, or like some films like these. Like last week, we thought we can talk about Ghostbusters in the future, like the first one. So
yes, suggest anything else you want us to talk about. And if you're interested in any of the other content, we got shed loads of stuff you can look at. We've done a video on both Venom films. We've done a video on, could a Spider-Verse film work? That was way back when it was just rumors. And we've got loads of Marvel content. We did Eternals, we did Shang-Chi, we did Black Widow, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, WandaVision. We will be doing Hawkeye soon. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Just makes sense, doesn't it? I should stop quoting on YouTubers and subscribe if you want to see more, because we are doing the other Spider-Man films, and we're really excited to talk about it. The thumbnails that we've got, like you've seen it on screen during the main segment. The thumbnails that we've got going for these ones, cinema. You haven't seen them yet, John? Cinema, absolutely beautiful. Big props to our guy Zane who makes them. And yeah, if you want to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, you also can. Links in the description at Outtime Film Pod, or give us an email at outtimefilmpod@gmail.com. Tell us, what do you think of Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3? What do you think of the trilogy as a whole? Do you want Spider-Man 4? What do you think about, them coming back in No Way Home? Is Tobey Maguire your favorite Spider-Man? Tell us. Send us an email. We will answer it on air. And I think that's everything. Is that everything?
On air.
On air. Yes, John.
On air.
This is very professional.
Wow.
If you call this number right now, 1379, don't call that. I don't know what happens. Death, maybe.
If you wrong someone by accident, just say subscribe to the Outtime Film Podcast. And...
Yes.
Yeah.
We will be rich and famous.
Sorry?
We will be rich and famous, John.
Yes. Wow. So wear your mask going to the cinema, because
yeah, if the cinema's closed now, if the cinema's closed before No Way Home, I'm blaming you. And when I say you, I mean you, listener, Steve. I blame you.
Get your vaccinations. Come on, listen. Right. Come on, No Way Home is going to be the biggest film this year. No doubt.
It really will be, won't it? It's going to be mad.
With everything that's going to have, like with Spider-Man, with the villains and
Daredevil.
The other films. This film could potentially have in this. It's going to be a multiverse.
It might be good as well. I think it's going to be good, and that's weird for me, because I rarely go into an MCU film thinking this is going to be good. Yeah.
Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. Those were the films
Infinity War. If No Way Home is, as good as Infinity War, that's it. Cinema, brilliant.
Cinema. Yeah. Oh my god, it's gonna be so weird. Being excited for like a Marvel film ever again, because what we've seen with Black Widow, Eternals.
I liked Eternals, John. I liked Eternals. I know you didn't.
Yes, you did. I
liked Eternals. It was good.
That wasn't cinema.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it hasn't been cinema yet. We're waiting for that MCU film. Pretty much, in my opinion, there hasn't been an MCU film that's been properly like cinema since Infinity War. Yeah, none of the others have been like that good.
No, but like
Shang-Chi was great, don't get me wrong. I loved Eternals, but most of the others kind of fall down by the wayside to me.
Yeah, but in the past you've seen like trailers that was so exciting to have, like the Civil War trailer. Nothing can beat that. Yes, nothing can beat that.
We were going to talk about Civil War when we did the Spider-Man MCU films, because they are important parts of Spider-Man's journey.
we should
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I remember you showing me the trailer. Like, I had no idea.
We were screaming. I don't like. We were young boys just yelling our heads off. We were really annoying to the neighbors, but hell yeah, what a day! What a day it was.
I just couldn't believe it. I thought you were just just like going crazy. I was like, Tom, what are you talking about? And it's like, watch the trailer. I'm like, okay, right, okay. I know that Civil War's coming out, and then you show me it, and like Underoos, and
yeah, amazing. I love it so much. Let's finish up, shall we?
Yes.
I need to pack. I'm into London tomorrow. I need to pack, man, desperately. Pac-Man.
Woo! Spider-Man. Woo! So thank you for listening.
Neil.
And I can tell that you're tired from talking to all of this, man.
Yeah, honestly, I had so many notes. I'm surprised I got through it all. I just had like pages of just Spider-Man stuff. Like, man, whew.
Oof.
Good films though.
Wow.
Good films.
Great films. Yeah, great films.
Incredible.
Wow. Thank you. Take what you're given.
Give nothing back.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.